back to another Interviews with Justin. We're here with Andy. How are you going today?
Pretty good, thanks Justin.
That's good. Could you run us through this car of yours?
Yes, I bought this motor car some years ago as a drive as is or a restoration piece. And when I got it home, there's a lot wrong with the motor car, and I managed to find a donor car primarily for the chassis, and the rest of it was okay. I stripped it all down, had everything all sandblasted inside and out, bought all my parts and that from Triumph in London, England, and it took me 2 years, a job a day, to dismantle and restore this motor car to this.
You were saying it has an overdrive in it?
Yes, the overdrive on these little cars, like the wire wheels, radio and heater, they were all optional extras in their heyday. And by having the overdrive, it's an asset, particularly when you're doing journeys and things like that. It just pulls the revs up a little bit, which is nice. What you want,
what were some of the extras that originally would come out with these type of cars?
The optional extras of these motor cars in the heyday, the cars come out with disc wheels on it. Wire wheels an optional extra, the radio an optional extra, the heater was an optional extra, and the overdrive.
So how long did this car take you to actually build to get to this stage?
It took me 2 years to do the car. I'd done a job a day over a 2 year period. As long as I didn't care how big or small the job was, as long as I'd done a job a day, I would get the car done, and it took me 2 years to get it from nothing to this stage here.
Yeah, awesome. So job a day, that could be just taking 3 bolts off the car, or it could be taking a door off the car.
That's correct, that's spot on, exactly. That's all I did, just a job a day. I'm not as young as I used to be, hence it's a bit slower nowadays.
Yeah, no, awesome car. Alright, shall we go see the rest?
Okay, righto, good.
Alright, let's go see the rest. With the
TR3A,
Yep.
1960 Triumph TR3A.
Yep.
I bought this car off an elderly chap over in Victoria, and he got the, I think he come second in the Concours d'Elegance up in Queensland, and because he's getting on and a bit crooked in his years, he put it up for sale, and I've seen it advertised on Google. And I spoke to him over a period of about 3 weeks, I guess, and I committed myself in the end to bought the car, and certainly not disappointed. Absolute magnificent motor car. Nothing to spend on this car. It'll go anywhere if you desire the car. Again, this car's also got the overdrive, and a couple of little bonuses under the engine. And this is just generally a lovely motor car.
Last one, the Maserati. You want to tell us a bit about this one?
Yes, I was very lucky to get this motor car. I bought it privately from a fella over east. My son rang me up one time and he said, "Dad," he said, "I've found the Maserati that you always talk about, and it's got the red interior." And it took me a few weeks to make up my mind, because we were sending text messages to and fro, and it took me at least 3 weeks before I committed myself to this motor car. And how I come to buy this car, I had another very nice motor car here in the shed, and I sold that to buy this motor car. These cars, as you're probably well aware of, they're very expensive when they're new, but they drop heavily on the retail market side of it, and that allowed me to buy this motor car.
Yeah.
And it's a 2008 Maserati Gran Turismo.
Yep.
With a 400 brake horsepower motor up front, naturally aspirated. It's very fast if you're in that field, but I'm batting to drive it at more than 100 kilometres an hour. I'll keep within the limits. It's just a magnificent motor car. It's a great looking motor car. I've always loved anything European all my life, and I finally got one at the tail end of my life.
Alright, so after seeing all the life-size cars, we're going to see some of the cars he makes as models, which is just mind-blowing. I've never seen anything like it. It's just awesome. So do you want to walk us through a little bit about how you got into doing it?
Yep. Quite some years ago, I met this chap and become a dear old friend. He was a master craftsman from 60, 70 years ago, and he always knew that I was interested in these old race cars of yesteryear. Anyway, so he got me to start doing. I didn't know anything about panel work, but he used to come around to my place and he used to lead me and show me what you can do. And when I started, and the cars that I build are the cars that I used to read about and listen to in the 50s and the 60s of all these front engine race cars of yesteryear. I could never ever afford to have one, so I thought, well, what I'm learning now, attempting to learn, I'll see if I can create something that I couldn't afford to have, and hence what I do now. I've made several models of these cars, and I cherish them all, because this is as close as I'm going to get to having the real thing, and this is what I do. I just try and improve on each model that I make.
Yeah, that's awesome. Alright guys, I'm going to turn the camera around. You guys are going to be mind blown. 3, 2, 1. Look at this thing. It is awesome. This one he's still working on. So this is his workshop here. So yeah, he's still got to finish the wheels. The interior's still got to go in. But just to get a little bit of an idea of what they look like when he's building them, that's pretty much what they look like, because he's got a few finished off ones that we're going to go see shortly.
To make these cars, to make these cars, these models, I buy cold drawn sheet steel.
Yep, just like these sheets over here.
Cold drawn sheet steel. I've got my own homemade little wheelie machine, which is important to me, and the usual things, a bit of a blocking block, etc. And with the aid and the help of my dear old friend Russell, who led me down this path, and every car that I've made has been just enjoyment and something really smart to look at when I'm finished. There are things on the car that I'd like to see a little smarter, like proper wire wheels and things like that, but to buy them, well, I don't know who makes them, and so the Bunnings specials that go on here.
Well, that's always a thing you can change later if you want.
But the car, all the sheet metal, it's all 1mm cold drawn sheet steel. That's what these cars are fabricated from.
Yeah, and that's because they're easier to mould
Yes,
with
yeah,
that.
yeah. So yeah, you work on 1mm cold drawn sheet steel. Anything heavier, it's too difficult.
Difficult, yeah. Because do you want to give us a little bit of a demonstration?
Take it off a bit. Go into my homemade little wheelie machine once I get it going, and just it does the job for me.
Yeah.
It's a nice and smooth edge.
Yeah, that's it. So that's actually, that was one of my biggest questions, because these cars are all handmade by Andy.
Yeah.
And yeah, like one of the questions you'd be sort of asking, like I know I was thinking, how does he get it so round and perfect? And that's pretty much how he does it.
Does it? Yes, that's right.
And hence why he uses that millimeter. What was it? The
1mm cold drawn sheet steel.
Yeah, and that's why he uses that, is because it's easiest to mold
it's for building bodies.
Yeah. But yeah, and also the shocks.
I improvise here when I'm making these cars because I'm on a very tight budget. The shock absorbers, for example, I used to go to places like Men in the Sheds and get their old push bikes and take the little shock absorber off the seats when they're going to discard some bikes. And so these little shockies that come off push bikes, and the wishbones in that, I just make them up out of whatever I can find under the bench, and get the old rose joints off the back of old tractors and things like that, and utilise them the best I can to make it look something like it was supposed to look in its heyday. This the exhaust on this car took my fancy from, I guess all the enthusiasts out there would remember the Mercedes 300 SLR in 1953 had these exhaust pipes protruding right out the side, and they looked magnificent. So I thought on this particular model, I thought I'd do something similar, and hence their side exhausts.
Yeah.
And but when I was making this car, I sort of lost my way a little bit because I started making the car, then things weren't going as I planned, so I stopped. And then a year or so later, I thought I'd better start again, and I almost forgot the type of car that I was supposed to be following. And but anyway, it turned out okay, and it's probably as close as what I didn't really know what to call the car because it's supposed to be based on an early model Ferrari race car at the period. But the front didn't turn out as I anticipated, but it's pretty close to a BRM profile on one of the British BRMs. So I'm quite happy to call it a BRM.
Yep. That's awesome. Alright, well, you guys have seen his workshop and how he builds them.
When I first started doing this, my dear friend was leading the way. I got excited about it. I'm going to learn all about these things, and I went to Perth and I bought all this fancy machinery, and from guillotines and big
For all the metal works.
I bought all sorts of stuff. It cost me an arm and a leg to do it, and I bought it home, and I was that excited with it. I rang my dear old friend up. He came around and he stood at the shed, looked here, looked there, and he looked at me and he just said to me, "What for?" And that knocked the wind clean out of me. And over the years I've managed to get rid of it all, because he was brought up in the school with a hammer, dollies, tin snips, a linishing belt, a small one.
Yep.
That's all he had. And it was just a matter of what's in the mind, and hence I got rid of everything and just kept the very basics, and that's all I do. This motor car, this is the third one I built. I wasn't too sure what I was going to build, but I ended up building this car just out of my head. It's not based on anything in particular. It's just to try and create a car and see how I go with it. And it's turned out to be quite an amazing little motor car. You can make these cars electric if you want, or you can make them pedal. Not that overly hard to do. But I prefer to keep them as models for display and have them for a long time. Yeah, so it's not based on anything in particular. This motor car, I had a picture on the wall. I go by a picture. There's no real design. There's no scale. I don't go to a scale. All I try and do is keep all the wheelbases about the same, to keep the cars about the same size over the whole lot. This particular motor car is based on the 1950s Maserati 250F, what one Noel Fangio drove, and it's a wonderful little motor car, and it's turned out exceptionally well. And I'm very proud of this motor car. This motor car is somewhere near the ballpark. It was supposed to be based on a 1923 Alfa Romeo, and I got some of it right and some of it wrong, but it's turned out to be quite a delightful little motor car. So that's my little Alfa Romeo, 1923. Put a picture like this up on the wall, which is a English Fraser Nash, and I just keep looking at the picture to try and get the design, the shape that I require. I just go off the picture. That's all I do, and hence this wonderful little motor car again. And this particular motor car again, I like the Alfa Romeo in its heyday, 1948 to 1951. And again, it's a wonderful little motor car, and I'm very proud of it.
Alright, cheers for showing us all these cars. They're just
Thanks.
magnificent. I've never seen anything quite like it. It's definitely a talent you got there. It's just awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
I'd love one day if you could build the GQ as a little model, would be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, cheers for showing us around your collection, and yeah, they're just awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Thanks for that. Thank you.
If you guys haven't yet subscribed, please smash that subscribe button, give this video a like, and comment below what you think of these models, because yeah, they're just insane. Never seen anything quite like it. They're awesome. So yeah, cheers guys.